The night was silent, and the city outside his window looked empty. Inside his small apartment, Daniel sat in front of an old computer, his eyes tired but alert. He worked as a radio operator for a local station, but tonight he was not working on music. He was searching for something else, something strange hidden in the endless static of signals. Daniel often listened to unknown frequencies late at night. Sometimes he picked up voices from faraway ships or secret channels. But tonight, the sound he caught was different. At first, it was only a soft crackle, like whispers carried by the wind. Then it grew louder, and he froze. The voice was playful, almost teasing. It was not human, but it spoke with a strange charm. "Hello, human," the voice said, smooth and clear through the static. Daniel's heart jumped. He leaned closer to the radio, unsure if his tired mind was playing tricks. "Who's there?" he whispered. For a moment, silence. Then the laughter came, a light, melodic laugh, both innocent and mischievous. "I've been watching you," the voice replied. "I know you, Daniel. You are mine now." Daniel felt his skin crawl. How could this voice know his name? He quickly checked the signal, changing dials and frequencies, but the voice stayed strong. It was not an echo or interference. It was real, and it was speaking directly to him. "Stop this nonsense," Daniel said, trying to sound brave. But his voice cracked. He was alone in the room, yet the voice made him feel as if someone was standing right behind him, smiling. "Don't be afraid," the voice said softly. "No more games, human. I am coming." Daniel's hands shook as he typed frantically into his system. He tried to trace the signal, searching for its source, but the screen showed impossible results. The coordinates were shifting between stars, across galaxies, as if the voice came from everywhere at once. His phone buzzed suddenly, and he jumped. It was a text message, though he had not shared his number with anyone recently. The screen read, "Look outside your window." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. Slowly, he turned to the window. The night sky looked ordinary at first, filled with stars. But then one star blinked, brighter, stronger, and moving closer. It was not a star, it was something descending. Daniel stepped back, his heart racing. The radio crackled again. "I told you, Daniel. I am here, no more hiding, no more games." Her voice grew sharper, yet still playful, like a child who had finally found her favorite toy. "You are mine. Forever," she whispered. The words echoed in his mind, leaving him unable to move. Daniel thought of running, but his legs felt heavy. He tried to call someone, but his phone went black. Even his computer shut down, the entire room falling into an unnatural silence. Only the radio remained alive, glowing with a faint light. The voice continued, calm and sure. "You will not escape me. Human, I have crossed galaxies for you." Daniel's fear was mixed with confusion. Why him? Why choose a simple radio operator with no power, no importance? Yet the voice carried certainty, as if she had been searching for him and him alone. The air grew colder, and a faint humming sound filled the room. It was not from his devices, it was coming from outside. The light in the sky grew larger, piercing through the clouds. Daniel pressed his face against the glass, watching in horror and wonder. A ship, sleek and glowing with alien energy, descended silently. It hovered above the city, but only he seemed aware of it. No alarms, no noise outside, just him and the strange arrival. The radio voice giggled. "Do you see me now? I told you I would come." Her tone was playful, but carried a dangerous promise. Daniel stepped back again, nearly tripping over his chair. He whispered, "Why me?" The answer came instantly. "Because you are mine, Daniel, from this night. You are never alone again." The window rattled as if touched by unseen hands. Daniel's breath fogged the glass, his chest tight. He wanted to scream, but his voice was gone. All he could do was listen as the voice grew clearer, closer. "No more tricks, human. I am here forever," she said. The final words rang in his ears, sealing his fate. Daniel's hands were still shaking when the light outside the window grew stronger. The sky glowed as if a second moon had appeared, bright and unreal. For a moment, the entire street outside seemed frozen, the cars silent, the lamps flickering. It was as if time itself had paused to watch what was coming. Daniel stepped back from the glass, his pulse racing. He wanted to hide, but at the same time, he could not stop looking. The voice on the radio purred softly. "I told you, human, no more games. Look at me now." Her words felt playful, but also final, like a promise he could not escape. A strange humming filled the air, deep and steady, shaking the walls of his apartment. The light dimmed for a second, and then the shape of the ship became clear. It was large, sleek, and glowing with lines of silver-blue energy. It hovered silently, ignoring gravity as if the laws of nature had no meaning for it. Daniel's breath grew short. He whispered, "This isn't real." But even as he said it, he knew it was real, too real. The radio's glow brightened again, and the voice laughed. "You are awake now, Daniel. I am not a dream." The glass of the window shimmered as if touched by invisible hands. Then it cracked softly, without breaking, forming ripples across its surface. Daniel stumbled backward, his eyes wide. The voice said, "Do not be afraid. I am here." And then she stepped through, not through the door, not through the walls, but directly through the window, as if it were made of water. The air bent around her form, and Daniel could not believe what he saw. She was tall, graceful, with eyes that glowed faintly like starlight. Her skin shimmered as if woven with silver dust. Her hair floated as though it were underwater, dark with streaks of violet light. Daniel's first thought was that she was beautiful, too beautiful to be real. But there was something more, something dangerous behind her playful smile. Her lips curved as she looked at him, and she tilted her head like a curious child. "So this is the human I chose," she said softly, her voice carrying both kindness and command. "You look exactly as I imagined, weak, fragile, but perfect." Daniel's mouth went dry. He wanted to run, but his body did not move. It was as if her presence had rooted him to the floor. Her eyes locked onto his, and he felt a pull, like gravity, like fate. He whispered, "Why me?" She stepped closer, each movement smooth and confident. Her laughter rang out again, sweet yet unsettling. "Because you were listening, Daniel, when no one else was. You opened the door when others ignored it. You heard my call." Her hand reached out, fingers glowing faintly, and she touched the side of his desk. The wood darkened where her skin brushed against it, as if reality itself bent to her will. Daniel's heart pounded. "You can't be here," he said, his voice trembling. "You don't belong here." The alien girl tilted her head again, her smile never fading. "I told you. No more games, human, from tonight. I belong only to you." Outside, the ship remained silent, hovering above the city, unseen by anyone else. No sirens, no noise, no witnesses. It was as if the world had turned its eyes away, leaving only Daniel to face her. She walked slowly around the room, touching objects with curiosity. She picked up a photo frame and stared at it with fascination. "This is your family?" she asked softly, though it sounded more like a statement than a question. Daniel snatched the photo from her hands, his voice sharp. "Don't touch that." For the first time, her smile faded. Her eyes narrowed, glowing brighter. The air in the room grew heavier, and Daniel felt his chest tighten. But then, just as quickly, she laughed again, shaking her head. "You are bold. Human, good. I like bold." Daniel backed away, pressing against the wall. He tried to gather his courage, his voice trembling. "What do you want from me?" Her eyes softened, and her voice dropped low, almost tender. "I already told you, Daniel. I want you. Nothing else. You are my forever playmate. You cannot run. You cannot hide. From now on, we are one." Daniel shook his head. "This is insane. You can't just come here and decide that." She leaned closer, so close he could feel the faint heat of her skin. "Insane? Maybe," she whispered with a sly smile. "But real, human, very real, and I do not decide alone. The stars themselves chose you, and now I am here." Daniel closed his eyes for a moment, his mind racing with fear and disbelief. When he opened them again, she was still there, standing so close he could feel her presence pressing into his thoughts. The ship outside glowed brighter, as if waiting for her command. She extended her hand toward him, her eyes burning with playful fire. "Take it, Daniel," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Take my hand and accept your place. There is no going back." Daniel stared at her hand, frozen, torn between terror and an unexplainable pull. In that moment, he realized the truth. Whether he wanted it or not, his life had already changed. The strange signal had become something more. The alien girl was no longer just a voice. She was here, and she was not leaving. "No more games, human," she whispered again. "From tonight, I am yours forever." Daniel stood frozen against the wall, her hand still stretched toward him, glowing faintly. He could feel the heat of her presence, and yet he refused to move. His mind screamed to reject her, but his body would not obey. Outside, the alien ship hovered like a silent predator, its glow dimming and brightening like a heartbeat. The girl tilted her head, her smile never leaving. "You hesitate, human," she said softly, her voice echoing inside his mind as much as in his ears. "That is fine. I will wait, but you will soon understand there is no choice." Her words felt like a warning and a promise at the same time. Suddenly, the radio crackled again. This time it was not her voice, but a sharp, guttural growl. Daniel spun around, startled. The sound was heavy, broken, as if another presence had forced itself into the frequency. The girl's smile faded, her eyes narrowing as she looked toward the radio. "They followed me," she whispered, her voice tight for the first time. Daniel blinked. "Who? What are you talking about?" The girl stepped closer to him, her playful tone gone, replaced by something darker. "The hunters, they never stop. They smell my trail across galaxies, and now they have found me here." As if to answer her words, the lights in the room flickered. The air grew heavy, and the humming outside deepened. Daniel rushed to the window, his breath catching in his throat. Shapes were moving in the sky, dark shadows against the stars. Not ships like hers, but jagged, sharp, like creatures made of metal and bone. One of them screeched, the sound piercing through the night. Daniel covered his ears, the pain vibrating through his skull. The alien girl stepped forward, her eyes glowing brighter, her body tense. "Stay close to me, human," she said firmly. "This is not a game. This is survival." Daniel's heart pounded as the creatures descended. The sky lit up with streaks of unnatural fire. The shadows moved faster, their wings slicing through the air with unnatural speed. One of them slammed into the street below, shaking the ground. Daniel fell to his knees, the world spinning. The creature was monstrous, its body armored with black plates that reflected no light. Its eyes burned like hot coals, and its mouth opened wide, revealing rows of jagged teeth. It roared, shaking the windows. Daniel scrambled backward, terror freezing his mind. But the alien girl stepped in front of him, her hands glowing with streams of violet energy. The creature lunged. The girl raised her hand, and a blast of energy erupted, striking the monster in its chest. The force threw it backward, crashing into a parked car, flames bursting into the night. Daniel stared in shock, unable to comprehend what he had just witnessed. The girl's hair floated wildly, her eyes burning like stars. She looked back at him with a sharp grin. "Do you still think this is a dream, human?" Another screech filled the air. Two more creatures landed, their claws scraping against the pavement. The alien girl's glow brightened, but Daniel could see the tension in her stance. She was strong, but they were many, and they were not afraid. Daniel's hand shook as he grabbed the broken leg of a chair, holding it like a weapon, though he knew it was useless. The first creature rose from the wreckage, its body smoldering but not destroyed. It snarled and lunged again, faster this time. Daniel swung the chair instinctively, the wood shattering on its armored hide. The monster turned its burning eyes on him, ready to strike. Before it could reach him, another blast of violet fire struck its head, burning through the armor. The beast collapsed in flames, its screech fading into silence. The girl's voice rang sharp. "Do not stand like a fool. Human, fight. Even weak hands can change fate." Daniel's chest heaved, sweat dripping down his face. He felt fear, but also a spark of something else, a desperate will to survive. Grabbing a metal rod from the wrecked furniture, he stood beside her, trembling but determined. The other two monsters circled them, their claws clicking against the street like knives. The girl's laughter returned, but this time it was wild, fierce. "Yes, that is better. Human, stand with me, play with me in this fight." She raised both hands, energy building like thunder in her palms. The air crackled with power, the night alive with light and sound. The monsters screeched and attacked together, one leaping high, the other rushing low. Daniel swung the rod, striking the lower beast across its face. The impact barely hurt it, but it slowed for a moment, enough for the girl to unleash her power. Her blast cut through the air. The street was quiet again, smoke rising from the wreckage. Daniel stood frozen, his chest rising and falling as if every breath was a battle. The monsters were gone, their bodies burned into ash, but the silence after the chaos was heavy. The alien girl stood calmly in front of him, her eyes still glowing faint violet, her hair drifting like it carried a life of its own. Daniel's voice cracked as he finally spoke. "What are you? Were they? Why did they come here?" He wanted answers, not playful laughter, not riddles. For the first time, the girl's smile faded. She turned her eyes toward the hovering ship above them, her voice softer than before. "They came for me," she said. "They always come for me, because I escaped them, because I refused to be their weapon." Daniel frowned, his hands trembling as he tightened his grip on the metal rod, though the fight was over. "Weapon? What do you mean? Tell me the truth, all of it." The girl looked back at him, her eyes glowing brighter. "You want secrets, human? Then listen carefully, because once you know, you cannot forget." She stepped closer, her voice lower now, no longer playful. "I was created, not born, built by the empire you cannot imagine. They shaped me in labs, taught me to fight, to destroy, to bend galaxies to their will." Daniel's eyes widened, the words hitting him like cold water. "Created, not born." She continued, her tone trembling for the first time. "But I was different. I saw beyond the cages. I heard signals from far away, whispers of freedom, and so I ran." Her hands trembled slightly as she looked at him. "They call me traitor. They send hunters to drag me back, to cut me open and rebuild me. But I will not go. I will never go back." Daniel's throat tightened. He whispered, "So you came here to Earth?" She nodded slowly, her violet eyes softening. "Yes, I searched through the stars. I looked for a voice, a mind strong enough to hear me. And you, Daniel, you answered, you listened when no one else did." Daniel shook his head, his mind spinning. "I'm just a man, just a radio operator. I'm not special." Her smile returned faintly, but it carried sadness now. "Not special? You're the first human to open the signal, the first to stand beside me when death clawed at your door. You fought even with weak hands, and that is why I chose you." Daniel felt his chest tighten. He wanted to deny it, to push her away, but deep inside, he knew she was right. Something in him had changed the moment he heard her voice. The monsters, the battle, none of it could be erased now. His life was bound to hers whether he liked it or not. She stepped closer again, her presence overwhelming. Her hand brushed lightly against his arm, and Daniel shivered. "I am not your enemy, Daniel," she whispered. "I came here because I wanted freedom, but freedom is not real unless I have someone to share it with. You are my forever playmate, my partner, my anchor in this world." Daniel pulled his arm back, his voice rising. "Stop saying that. You can't just walk into my life and claim me. I never asked for this." The alien girl's eyes flashed, anger flickering for the first time. The ground beneath them trembled faintly, her voice sharp. "You think you can refuse? Do you not understand? If I leave, the hunters will burn this city to ashes. You are already in this. Human, there is no turning back. Daniel's legs felt weak, but he forced himself to stand tall. His eyes met hers, and for once, he didn't look away. Then tell me everything, he said firmly. Tell me the truth about you, about the Empire, about what's coming. If I'm trapped in this, I deserve to know. The girl studied him in silence, her glowing eyes narrowing. Then she smiled again, but it was softer, almost fragile. Very well. Human, you want the truth? I will give it to you, but know this, it will change how you see me forever. She lifted her hand, and the air shimmered with energy. Images appeared in the night sky, like ghostly visions painted across the stars. Daniel gasped as he saw them. Tall alien structures, endless armies marching, ships blotting out the suns of other worlds. He saw children in cages, beings chained, experiments twisting their bodies into soldiers. And in the center of it all, he saw her, smaller, younger, surrounded by glowing machines, her eyes filled with fear. That is what they made me, she whispered. A weapon to kill worlds, but I broke free. I tore open the gates of my prison, and I swore never to serve them again. Daniel's fists clenched, anger rising in his chest as the images burned into his mind. The Empire was not just her enemy. It was a threat to everything. And now, because of her, Earth was in their path. The visions faded, the night sky returning to silence. The alien girl looked at him, her playful tone returning but weaker. Now you know my secret, human. Do you still fear me? Or do you fear them more? Daniel's voice was steady though his heart raced. The night after the battle was restless. Daniel could not sleep, his mind filled with visions of glowing ships, monstrous hunters, and the girl who had stepped out of the signal. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her violet gaze watching him, playful and intense at the same time. She did not leave. She sat near the window, her glowing eyes fixed on the dark sky, as if she expected more enemies to appear. Hours passed, but she never grew tired, never closed her eyes. Daniel finally broke the silence, his voice rough. Do you ever sleep? The girl tilted her head and smiled faintly. Not the way you do. Human, my kind rests in other ways. I do not need dreams, I have you. Her words unsettled him, yet there was softness in her tone, almost warmth. Daniel sighed, leaning back in his chair. I still don't understand why me. Why not someone stronger, a soldier, a leader? The girl turned toward him, her expression serious now. Because they do not listen, Daniel. They hear signals but ignore them. You were curious. You were brave enough to answer. You were brave enough to fight. Her gaze lingered on him, and Daniel felt a strange pull. He looked away, embarrassed. You talk like I did something heroic, but I nearly died out there. The girl chuckled, her laugh light, but carrying a sharp edge. And yet you stood beside me, even when fear tried to drown you. That is strength, human, not muscle, not weapons, but the will to stand. Daniel rubbed his face with his hands, unsure if he could accept her words. But deep down, something inside him shifted. He wanted to deny it, but he had felt alive in the fight, terrified but alive. The bond between them was no longer just forced by circumstance. It was growing. The girl leaned closer, her voice softer now. You think of yourself as weak, but weakness can turn into power when shared. I do not need perfection. I need you. Her words made his chest tighten, not just with fear, but with something he could not name. Daniel swallowed hard, whispering, You're dangerous. You change everything. You've turned my life upside down. Her smile returned, playful again. Good. A boring life is worse than death. Human, you should thank me. Daniel shook his head, but despite himself, a small laugh escaped his lips. For a moment, the tension broke, and the room felt lighter. The days that followed were strange. She refused to leave his side, always near him, watching, exploring his world with endless curiosity. She touched every object in his apartment, as if it were treasure, fascinated by simple things: water from a tap, the hum of a refrigerator, the warmth of a lamp. Daniel found himself explaining everything, and though he tried to stay annoyed, her childlike wonder disarmed him. At night, she told him stories of distant galaxies, of burning suns and frozen worlds. Her voice painted pictures more vivid than dreams. Sometimes her tone was playful, other times heavy with sorrow when she spoke of the Empire. Daniel listened, caught between awe and dread, realizing how small his world had been before she arrived. One evening, as they stood on the roof of his building, the city lights glowing below, Daniel asked quietly, "Do you ever regret leaving them, the Empire?" The girl's smile faded, her violet eyes darkening. "I regret nothing, but I mourn what was stolen from me. I was never given a choice, but now I choose, and I chose freedom. I chose you." Her words struck deep, heavier than he expected. Daniel turned away, his hands tightening on the railing. "You keep saying you chose me, but what if I don't want this?" The girl's eyes glowed brighter, her voice low but steady. "You may deny it with words, but your actions tell me the truth. You fight, you stand, you stay beside me, even now." Daniel felt his chest ache. He wanted to argue, but he couldn't because she was right. Every moment with her pulled him deeper, binding him to her world of danger and wonder. And though fear still haunted him, something else was growing: trust, maybe even something stronger. That night, she stood closer than before, her presence wrapping around him like invisible fire. "Do not be afraid of me, Daniel," she whispered. "I am not here to destroy you. I am here to keep you, to protect you, to share the bond neither of us can break." Daniel looked into her glowing eyes, and for the first time, he did not see only danger. He saw loneliness, a longing that mirrored his own. And for the first time, he whispered back, "Maybe I don't want to be alone either." The alien girl smiled, brighter than any star in the night sky. She reached out and touched his hand lightly. "No more loneliness, human. From now on, we are bound. We are forever." The days of quiet did not last. Daniel had almost begun to believe that maybe the hunters would not return. But the alien girl never relaxed, her eyes always scanning the skies, her voice always reminding him, "They will come, human. The Empire does not forget." One night, the warning arrived. Daniel woke to a deep rumbling sound, not from the earth but from the heavens. He rushed to the window, and his breath froze. The stars above were gone, replaced by shadows moving across the sky. Dozens of ships, sharp and jagged, descending like a storm. The alien girl stood beside him, her violet eyes burning brighter than ever. Her smile was gone, replaced with grim determination. "The invasion begins," she whispered. "They have found me, and now they will burn your world to reach me." Daniel's chest tightened. "You mean Earth? They're here for Earth." She shook her head. "No, they are here for me, but your world will suffer if I stand alone. That is the Empire's way." The ships broke through the clouds, their black metal reflecting no light. Sirens wailed across the city, people pouring into the streets, confused and terrified. Daniel could hear distant screams as the first blast tore through the skyline. Buildings shook, flames rose, and the night turned red. The girl stepped forward, raising her hand. Her ship above responded, its silver blue glow brightening as if awakened from slumber. She looked at Daniel, her voice firm. "You asked for the truth. Now you must decide, fight with me or die with them." Daniel's heart pounded, his fear screaming for him to run. But he remembered the monsters, the night they fought side by side. He remembered her eyes, the way she had chosen him. He gritted his teeth and nodded. "I'll fight." The girl's grin returned, fierce and wild. "Good. Human, I knew you would not disappoint me." She reached for his hand, pulling him toward the glowing ship. The ground shook as a nearby building collapsed, flames licking the sky. Daniel stumbled, but she held him steady, her strength unnatural, unbreakable. They entered her ship, the walls alive with shifting light. The vessel responded to her presence instantly, as if it were an extension of her body. She placed her palm on a glowing console, and the ship roared to life. Daniel gripped the seat beside her, his knuckles white. "This is insane," he whispered. Her laughter rang out, sharp and fearless. "No, this is war, human, and tonight we play the greatest game of all." The ship shot upward, piercing through the clouds. Daniel's stomach dropped as the city shrank below them. Above, the Empire's fleet spread across the sky like a dark sea. Dozens of warships, their weapons glowing with crimson fire. Daniel gasped, "There's too many." The girl's eyes blazed. "Then we will break them one by one." The first wave of enemy fire streaked toward them. The girl moved her hands across the console, and the ship spun with impossible speed. Bolts of energy screamed past, explosions lighting the night. Daniel clung to the seat, his heart slamming in his chest. But the girl laughed, her voice full of thrill. "Do you see now, human? This is what I was built for, destruction, but tonight I destroy for us." The ship fired back, streams of violet energy tearing into an enemy vessel. The explosion lit up the clouds, metal and fire raining down. Daniel's fear began to shift into awe. She moved like a storm, every action perfect, every strike deadly. Yet even in the chaos, she glanced at him, her voice softer. "You steady me, Daniel. Without you, I would be only rage." Another ship loomed ahead, larger than the rest, its weapons glowing brighter. The girl's smile sharpened. "Their command ship, if we strike it, the rest will falter." Daniel swallowed hard. "Then let's finish this." The girl laughed again, fierce and proud. "Yes, human, that's the spirit I wanted." The battle raged, explosions painting the sky in red and violet. The city below shook as fragments rained down. People screamed, sirens wailed, but Daniel barely heard it. All he saw was the alien girl, fighting like a goddess of war, her eyes burning with unyielding fire. They dived straight toward the command ship, enemy fire chasing them. Daniel braced for impact, his breath ragged. At the last second, the girl unleashed all the ship's power. A massive beam of violet energy struck the enemy vessel. The ship cracked apart, fire consuming it. The rest of the fleet faltered, their formation breaking. The sky cleared as the Empire ships pulled back, some burning, some vanishing into the dark. The invasion had not ended, but the first wave was broken. Daniel collapsed in his seat, his chest heaving. The girl stood tall, her hair floating in the glow of her ship, her voice calm and steady. "This is only the beginning, human, but together we will face them all." Daniel looked at her, exhausted, terrified, yet unable to deny the truth. He was no longer just a bystander. He was part of this war, part of her fate, part of her forever. The night sky was still glowing with the ashes of battle. The enemy fleet had retreated, broken and scattered, but Daniel knew it was not victory, only survival. The city below burned, people cried out in confusion, the world shaken by a war it could not understand. And above it all, Daniel sat inside the alien ship, staring at the girl who had turned his life upside down. She stood with her hands still glowing faintly, her hair floating as if touched by invisible winds. Her violet eyes locked on him, not with the playful tease he first heard, but with something deeper. "You see now, human," she whispered, her voice calm but heavy. "They will come again, they will never stop, and every time they return, I will fight, and you will fight beside me." Daniel's throat was dry, his body trembling from exhaustion. He had fought harder than ever in his life, had faced death and survived. And yet, even with fear in his chest, he found himself answering, "Yes, I'll fight, because running won't change anything." The girl's smile returned, soft and almost tender this time. Her voice lowered, wrapping around him like a secret. "Good, Daniel, you belong to me now, and I to you forever." They descended back to the city, landing among smoke and broken streets. People stared in shock at the alien vessel, some running in fear, others frozen in awe. Daniel stepped out first, his heart pounding. This was his world, his home, and now it had seen the truth of what hunted her. The alien girl followed, her presence glowing like fire in the dark. Children clutched their parents. Soldiers raised their weapons uncertainly. But before panic could spread, the girl raised her hand. The violet glow softened, spreading warmth instead of fire. Her voice carried across the broken street, calm and steady. Do not fear me. I did not come to destroy. I came to protect, but your world is now bound to mine. Daniel stood beside her, and though his knees trembled, he raised his voice. She saved me. She saved us. Without her, those monsters would have taken everything. The soldiers hesitated, then lowered their weapons slowly. The people watched, their fears still alive but mixed now with wonder. Later, when the crowd was gone and silence returned, Daniel sat on the broken steps of his apartment building. The alien girl stood beside him, her glowing eyes fixed on the stars. Daniel rubbed his face with tired hands, whispering, "My life was simple, quiet, and now it's gone. Everything's changed." The girl looked down at him, her smile playful again. "Good. Human, you should thank me. Simple is boring. Boring kills the soul." Daniel chuckled weakly despite himself, shaking his head. "You're insane," he said softly. Her eyes narrowed with amusement. "Maybe, but I am your insane, and you are mine." The bond between them had grown beyond survival, beyond choice. It was a chain neither of them wanted to break. Daniel realized that, even though danger surrounded them, he no longer felt truly alone. The girl's presence was terrifying, yes, but it was also comforting, powerful, alive. She had become part of him, and he of her. As the night grew quiet again, she leaned closer, her voice a whisper in his ear. "Enough games, human, from this moment. You are my forever, my playmate, my partner, my anchor. No empire, no hunter, no force in the stars will take you away from me." Her words carried no threat now, only certainty, a vow carved into the fabric of the universe. Daniel looked into her glowing eyes, and for the first time since this began, he did not feel fear. He felt strength, a strange courage that came not from himself alone, but from the bond they shared. He nodded slowly, his voice steady. "Then we face it together, whatever comes next." The alien girl smiled, brighter than the stars above. She took his hand in hers, her touch warm despite the cold night. "Forever," she whispered, and the word rang through his mind like a promise. Together they stood, watching the wounded sky. The Empire would return, stronger and fiercer, but so would they. And for the first time, Daniel believed that maybe, just maybe, humanity had a chance because he was no longer alone.